Hello. Hello, family. I hope you are doing well. Welcome to my channel, and today I'm here in front of you with a very sad news about one of our brother, Salwan Momika, has been murdered. Or say martyred in Sweden. So let's watch Maya Tusi's report on this, and I have a detailed explanation afterwards, so stay tuned.
He was the 38-year-old Christian from Iraq who was a refugee in Sweden, a genuine asylum seeker, and he became infamous for fighting against Islam and the ideology, and he burned a book in front of Islamists and the far left activists in Sweden, and since then they worked very hard to push the Swedish government to deport him back to Iraq, where everybody knew what was going to happen to him, considering that the Western countries always claim to follow human rights, even if it's a loophole. For example, if you have an Islamist extremist in the West and you want to deport them, then they say, well, you can't really send me back to back.
I'll add the link below if you wanted to see it. There's one more part of it which I think was very important, and she was stating a lot of facts. I would play that part.
Momika came to Europe to escape Islam. Yet Islam killed him here in Europe. We could probably have saved his life if Norway accepted his application for asylum, but we didn't want to. Instead, we import terrorists from Palestine. We fly the Taliban on a private jet to Norway to discuss women's rights. We invite the third world and then come up with action plans on how to protect their fascist murder ideology that they are trying to implement here. Sweden seems like a Sharia shithole to me. What kind of continent are we when you get beheaded for showing a cartoon? When you can't practice Christianity in church without having your throat slit? You can't go play in the park with your 2-year-old because you get stabbed to death by this murder cult. Islam is the religion of peace? It's a fucking desert, macho, fascist ideology. Death cult is what it is. And our politicians is protecting it. Norway could potentially have saved his life, and we didn't, because we prefer the terrorist, to be honest. And by the looks of it, so does Sweden. We cannot accept this anymore. The line has to be drawn right now. We need remigration right now. You do realize that the punishment for leaving Islam is death. And that's exactly what happened here. If you are a follower of Sharia, politely fuck off back to your shithole and leave the rest of us alone.
Okay, very brave lady. I couldn't agree more to whatever she's saying. As I was watching one other podcast, it was saying like the enemy, what he needs to do is make one generation agree. Force them, beat them, whatever it takes. Make one generation agree to his demonic ideology, and the rest will just follow. And by the 4th generation, it will become normal. And this is what happened. Like Afghanistan was a Buddhist country. They forced them, raped them, murdered them, everything. By force, they changed them to Muslims. What they did next? They start attacking India. There's so many stories of the people coming, the Muslims attacking India, and then force converting those innocent Indians. And now look at the situation of those forcefully converted Muslims in India. Like, they are causing problems and troubles in India as well. And the thing just goes on and on and on, and it's a cultural thing. Okay, now what was his crime? And then people ask me in the comment section, why are you wearing mask? Why are you wearing this? Because I don't want to die. I have children. Okay, I'm a mother, and this death cult loves to kill. And they don't care if it's a woman, men, children. They don't care. That's why I wear a mask. Because every other day the news gives me more reasons to hide myself. But then I have to say something about this. I can't just sit down and relax and not say anything. So this guy burned Quran, and it's a big problem. But let me just bring you to the history. It was like, this Muslim guy will explain to you how Osman burned the Quran. Let's just hear what he has to say.
Question that many people ask us is, why did the third caliph of Islam, Uthman, why did he burn all of the Qurans of his reign and his empire? And this is viewed as being something sacrilegious, something that shows that there were Qurans that were somehow wrong. This is a cultural misunderstanding, because from the Islamic tradition, when you burn the Quran, you're not disrespecting it. In fact, this is the way to respectfully
Oh, so if a Muslim Caliph does it, it's respectful. But if an ex-Muslim Christian does it, then it's very offensive. Double standard there. But let me just take you to the history. Okay, in ancient time, in order to make paper, they used to gather these plants, then dip them in the water, then boil them, and then they had to convert them, and then after all these rigorous process, they will dry them, and then the paper would be created. It was very difficult to make paper. Then on those paper, in order to write a book, once one person has done it, in order to copy that book, the monks would have to sit, read from that book, and then copy it exactly. So it will take you like years to complete one whole book. It was a very challenging, difficult process. Paper and books were very expensive and very rare. So they would put them in their living room as a sign of luxury and that I'm so rich, I have so many books. So when one country would conquer another country, in order to delete their history, their knowledge, their religion, they will gather all the books and then they will burn them. They didn't have cloud to copy the information, and that's why a lot of information in history was lost because of these conquests and this burning and all that. So when they burn it, they are basically burning your history, they're burning your knowledge, burning the information. If some monks or some guru have written something, if you burn it, it's gone. There is no copy of it. There is no digital printing that will print 1,000 copies in a second. You lose it, it's gone forever. That's why it was frowned upon, that if you're burning, then that's like you're disrespecting, you're attacking the culture of that country. And that's why it was considered bad. Now, we live in the 20th century. Books are everywhere. Printing system is very quick. This guy burned one book. You can order 600 from Amazon. Again, you can reproduce copy. He burned Quran, you can buy another 600 of it. You can reproduce it. So if Salwa burned a copy of Quran, you can reproduce it. But can you bring him back to life? It's a human life gone. Can you bring him back to life? Can you reproduce Salman? No, he's gone. Why? For a book that you can print 1,000 copies. Which Osman, because there were different versions of Quran, okay? When he decided to compile all the verses that everybody had in their homes, he wanted to make them into one book. He gathered all of them and they found 3 different versions of Quran. At the moment, the single standard Quran has 114 verses. They had one Quran that had 112 verses, and there was one which had 116 verses. And in order to not make confusion between people, if they have different versions, they would always be fighting to which one is the correct and all that. He burned the other copies and kept the one which had 114 verses. And then they say, oh, Quran was never corrupted, Quran, the thing which was done lots of years after the death of Muhammad, they collected from different people, different verses, and then tried to make it into one book, is perfectly preserved. Oh, and then they burn these other copies, versions of it, and you say, no, it's been perfectly preserved to the dot. Well, it's not. It just shows that you are ignorant. So he burned the other copies and kept the one which had 114 verses. And now, because he burned it at that era, and nobody have the copy of those two, we would never know what was on those two other, or those other, I think that in the end there was like 5 different versions, which he burned the other 4. Like, what was in them? What verses were in there? And who made him to decide that he can decide which one to keep and which one to not? That one is gone. Forever. He should have been prosecuted. He should be burned. He's the one who did the real damage here. He lost the history, the information, the verses, everything gone. But no, he's the Khalif. But this guy, the standard one, he's burning, and he's a very bad guy. And I know some Christians are asking, some people on YouTube are asking, like, oh, get more copies, burn and whatever. I'm saying to you, burning it is not the solution. Solution is reading it. Read it, for God's sake. Read what's written in that book. The problem is Muslims do not read their own book. When I was a Muslim and I read the Quran, you read the verses about Moses. How he fed the Israelites, how he rescued them, how he turned the water into blood, and how the God fed them with the meat and manosalva that came from the sky for them. And I was like, wow. I had huge respect. So Moses was like this high for me. And then Jesus' miracles you read. You read the Surah Maryam, and it's about how Jesus used to bring people to life, back to life, and he would heal the blind and heal everyone. And also there is one verse they say, like, he will make a clay bird and breathe into it and it will start flying. And I was like, wow. And so Quran made me fall in love, and I respected Jews and Christians because it always called them people of the book, people of the book. So there is like love. You can't just go kill people of the book. And then because I was a child when I started reading it, I was always interested in the parts where it's telling you the story. So beginning half part of the Quran is all about the ancient stories and all that, and I was very into them. And then the other half of the Quran is about the verses, like you do this, you do that, or you burn, the hell is fire, and your skin will burn, and that will burn, and he will burn, and everyone will burn, and the fire, and I am the great, I am amazing, and everyone is burning. And then it comes, so the last half of it is about orders and burning, and then it becomes aggressive towards Jews and Christians, and like the worst of the creators and blah 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 that would come. And but for me it was like I just fall in love with them after reading all that, and suddenly you want me to hate them? I couldn't. After knowing all that history, for me suddenly, like, I had respect for them. I couldn't disrespect them. And for me that question always remained, and I thought, okay, maybe it's just for that time and that verse and whatever. But if any Muslim actually cares for Quran and actually reads, the way for you to get out of this cult is if you actually read the book. Read the book. I have heard testimony of so many ex-Muslims. They said that they read the Quran and they left. Some people will comment underneath us like, I read Quran 5 times a day. Well, if you just memorize Qul and Alham, then you read it in your prayer 5 times a day, that does not count. A lot of Muslims memorize 4 or 5 verses of Quran and they just read it every 5 times and they think they know everything. No, there is a reason there is 114 verses. Go educate yourself, read them. That is my only request. Don't lose your mind in my comment section. Just go open your book and read it and stop killing people. I don't know if this video will be censored or not, because there's a lot of stuff inside it, but guys, I need your support. So please like, share and subscribe to the channel. I do not hate anyone, because Jesus was praying for the people who were nailing his hand. So I am against the ideology. I am against the ignorance. I am against the hate. And the world needs Jesus. And people, like she said, if you do not accept our ideologies, and if you do not like the West, go back. You don't need to go around killing people. It's a sin. It is a sin to kill other human. How do you justify it? I am very, very sad for this guy. He tried to open the eyes of some other people, but we have to talk about it. It is not okay. It is not acceptable. This should not happen again. And people need to know. When they killed Jesus, they thought it's finished. We killed him, finished, Christianity finished, he finished everything. But then they realized, oh my God, he's everywhere. Jesus was everywhere. They tried to do the same to the disciples. They killed them. But the Christianity did not stop. It never will. You cannot hide from the truth. And you cannot silence the truth. This demonic cult, this death demonic cult, and people that follow it blindly need to wake up and stop following the devil. For God's sake, read your book. Read other books, educate yourself, or go back. Leave us alone. That's all for this video. I hope God blesses each and every one of you. I'll see you in the next one. I'm thinking to create the Instagram channel as well. I'll add the links once it's ready under my videos, so follow that as well. Give it your love as well, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.